Well, I've got to do this recording in a public place, unfortunately, with people about, but there's not much I can do about it because I've been trying to do this recording all morning, and there's just people that are getting in my way. Right, we got this issue of this, what's known as Michael Jackson Prostitute, the lady that scammed me in 2018, March or April, somewhere around that time, and I reported it to Action Fraud or whatever. Well, she was about 18, well, she said she was about 18 years of age, but she looked about 22ish, and I wouldn't say she was that good looking either. She was sort of a bit like this Lisa Pike lady I mentioned. So basically that very gritty look, not a sort that most people would go for, but at the time, until I answered the door, I didn't know what she looked like, because she contacted me on the dating site pretending to be a single lady but also a prostitute at the same time. Between a couple of visits on the same day, it was basically all that sort of time period. I remember what the boyfriend looked like, or whoever it was that was pretending to be the car dealer, and it appears to be the person looks identical to the person who wanted to smash me out on the railway track and take my life on sexuality. And we'll go deeper in that in a minute, but I just want to complete what I'm going to say. So she had about 800 quid offered me. As far as sexual intercourse goes, it was basically nothing. She did about 6 moves on me, basically lying aside, holding her arm on my body, doing about 6 moves, and that's about it. And there's a possibility she was trying to film it with her camera, but I wasn't bothered at the time why she needed to do that, because she wasn't giving it anyway. So it was basically blowjobs initially for the first 300, 400 quid until she said, oh, you get proper sex at 500 quid, which didn't take place apart from 6 moves. I probably cuddled someone in a swimming pool better than that when I was a bloody child, but you know, anyway, if we go to the next part, one of the neighbours at my old place thinks it's set up by someone called Dan, saying that it's a sly way for neighbour number 4 to move out at my old place, or the new neighbour to move in, who is called Gary, but I can't give his surname for legal reasons. It's just an easier way to explain that a move took place for a new neighbour to come in. Now, this information wasn't said to me, it was said in the corridor in a conversation near my door. So basically what happened is, they believe that someone called Dan has tried robbing me of money so they can get money so that they, for the transfer that took place, and saying because he's a vulnerable person with mental disabilities, they saw me as an easy target, basically. That's what was said in the conversation. And a lot of the problems that occurred, or the disagreements, or you know, the negative types of things that was coming from the person, from that neighbour, did actually drop right through until I left and moved to Yeovil. But it doesn't stop there, because the threat of this specific person, who's known as either Michael Jackson Prostitute, or sometimes, very rarely, but some term to Lisa Pike, because she looks very similar to Lisa Pike, without the unhygienic type suggestion but I'm wording it that way for my own wording, so please don't get offended if I say that. I can't find an easier explanation at the speed I'm trying to do this video at this minute in time. So if I cause offence, I do apologise, but I'm just using my own term because I can't find another term to use at this minute in time, because I'm a bit struggling to do this, what I'm trying to tell you. So because initially I was going to try and do this in a quiet place, but I can't, so it's making it very difficult to do this video. So basically the time went on and it's ended up in threats. Now, going back to this person who went to smash me in, initially pretending to be a single lady and then turning out to be someone that wanted to attack me, well, initially he told me clearly that he wanted Justin Langford smashed out on the railway track to end his life, so that a train would go over him afterwards, saying that he's going to pay for it because he's a sick bastard and whatever. Because he didn't know who I was at the time. And I said, no, I'm not Justin, and this is when he met up in Bridgewater. But firstly, he wanted to meet up in Highbridge. I only just made the last bus back to Yeovil because of the time he chose to meet up. And when he did meet up, it was in Bridgewater, with these texts pretending to be a single woman. So he said, "Is your name Justin Langford?" And I said, "No." He said, prove it to me." And then he started all this. He said, "Because I'm about to smash you out and fucking knife you." He says, "You're a fucking child rapist." And then he says, and I said, "No, it's not my name." He says, "It must be Saven then." And then he said, what was it he said after that? I can't remember. Anyway, he's after that, I said, "Who is Justin Langford?" You know, obviously it was me. And he said, "It's Saven. He's a fucking. I'm gonna have him. I'm gonna fucking knock him out." He says, and I said, "No, and it's you, fucking you. I'm gonna fucking have you," and all the rest of it. He says, "I'm taking your fucking life away." So I'm gonna fucking inject you. So at that time, he tried sending a text, and I put the thing on silent because it's just on like a rumble sort of noise, vibration alert. So he didn't hear my phone go. So I had to scream for help because he said he was going to take me out right now, and because he's a bigger build and stronger build than I am, I wouldn't have stood a chance against him anyway. So anyway, at that time, I had to scream and I had to pretend to ring 999. So I had to do that to get him out of my way. He photographed me and he shouted across saying, "You're a fucking paedophile," and said a couple of other things while photographing me. I tried to photograph him, but my camera decided to shut off and close down with a crow going ha 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 at the time it occurred. And then a seagull was making other sounds. Anyway, that threat has occurred this morning, not this morning, last night, sorry, and it appears to be by either a neighbour or someone outside. Now, I don't want to accuse anyone because I don't know for sure who said it. And basically, it's a threat to take my life with a needle of a type of substance that is very dangerous to say, but it can cause the organs to close down, and it can cause you a very extremely painful death very, very quickly. And obviously that includes other substances as well, like HIV, AIDS, chickenpox and shingles or whatever. So I wasn't very happy about that, and this specific person is being brought up as a main marker to accuse me of being a sick bastard because of the age gap between this woman who basically didn't have sex with me. So I'm not a very happy person, especially when the only sex I've had is being sexually abused many times as a child and having no sex at all in my whole life, basically. So what they've been doing is been digging up this weighing issue that goes back to the 1990s. So basically, if you want to bloody start, goes back to what I was saying, like, might as well say that you cuddled a woman in a swimming pool, better than that, you know, than the sex that this prostitute gave, because it wasn't sex. But, you know, whatever you say, you know, it's definitely a setup. It was definitely a setup, and that's a guarantee. Even the police think it was a setup. When I saw Adrian, the police officer that I knew when I was living at Burnham-on-Sea at that time, and he said, "Just be careful, just make sure that you don't hand out money to these people, because you never know what they're up to," and says, "Never give the details on your card number." He said, "Unfortunately, we can't arrest or do anything about this issue because you willingly gave the money to her." But, you know, and that sort of thing. So the police were actually on my side and they did agree. And when I described the lady to her, he kind of joked. He said, "So she's not one of the prettiest ladies then that was scammed you." So he sort of joked with me because obviously he knew I wasn't very happy at the time. So it's just sort of joking, you know. So after that, these threats of this specific lady's been on the increase since last year, and it's last year when this person pretended to be Scott that wanted to smash me in that all this problems increased. So yeah, I'm not very happy about it. And also I've noticed that all the religious stuff's going against me in the Christianity religion, because firstly today has been a whole load of setups to tell me to have sex with people that raped me as a child. Animal voice sounds coming out saying you're not having anyone, you're supposed to be with people that raped you as a child, and that I'm a sick cunt when I've never had anyone. And then obviously after that it gets even better, because there's a t-shirt in my direction that is a Christianity t-shirt. It says danger on top of the t-shirt and saying masturbation is a sin that leads to hell after death. So that's just to add to the problems that I got. And also, I don't use dating anymore because of these issues, but people are moaning about the age gap or telling me that I'm a sick cunt because I won't go with homosexual attraction. Well, whose fault is it that people, the reason I haven't had sex all my life is because all my enemies have turned everybody against me and made them single mothers, and now some of them are too old to fancy because they've got that negative rough skin, or well, a lot of people are actually using the term homosexual appearance or homosexual looking skin, and I don't take to homosexual looking skin. Also in Leviticus, in the Holy Bible, Jesus forbids homosexual relationships. So telling me to go with homosexual looking skin is actually going against the Bible. So, but you know, and it gets even better because Jesus Christ died at the age of 33. He was crucified on the cross. But many years before that age, he was in a sexual relationship with a girl called Mary Magdalene, and apparently he had 2 children, and she was a sexual looking lady according to the old lost gospels or whatever, or what, the manuscripts. So basically I'm told by a person, a lady actually 2 years older than Jesus was when he was crucified, that I'm a sick cunt if I don't fancy an old granny because of the age I am. Back in the olden days, you had people the age of 16 going out with people in their high 50s. So a bit like Sid James and Barbara Windsor, who were 2 celebrities. I think she was 16, Barbara, and Sid James was in his 50s or 60s, and they got in a sexual relationship. But back in the 1960s, that wasn't a problem because there was no, you didn't have the sort of change you have today with media altering people's minds in the music industry. But back in those days, that was seen as fine. Well, today, they don't allow more than 2 or 3 years of difference in age, even if you're a high age. So that's what they've got to look at and what people have got to look at. So when I've been sexually abused and never had anyone, I'm not very happy at this minute in time. And then if we go back to the I can't remember the year, but it's definitely about 15 years ago. I had a past life reading from a clairvoyant before I sort of started going to these churches, and Christian churches or whatever. And I was told that in my last life, I didn't actually have sex in my last life either, and I was abused right through my last life before dying tragically. But at the time, the clairvoyant said, well, at least you got this life, and in this life you're bound to get a sexy partner or whatever. That never came true. But you know, the negative things that she mentioned on that previous life reading was pretty negative. It wasn't good. And then you've got to think about my next life. What's going to happen when I'm born again in my next life if I don't go to the fire of hell? Obviously I'm going to have to be sexually abused as a child again if I'm born with a family that have that are child abusers, for example. So that'd be 3 lives running, and then I can't guarantee I'll get anything in my next life because I could get bitten by a scorpion, a deadly snake, and attacked or whatever. So with all these things happening and all these curses that I get through and these many threats that I get, with up to the amount of people taking photographs of me last year, it was up to 150 times in one day mistaking me as Liam and Saven. And then you've got all these other threats, the threats in 2022 for direct threats is the worst amount of threats I had in my whole life in one go. But it gets even better because with force control setups, organised crime or whatever's causing wording on vehicles to come out, or messages, or an obstacle course of controlled setups around me when I'm walking about or on the path or whatever, trying to divert me, like timing 100 people to sneeze in my face per day. Not so much this year, but it was about 50 to 150 times per day, every day, almost last year, where they timed people to sneeze in my face. And there were 17 people that sneezed on the bus today. Luckily I was at the back of the bus, but that's how many people sneezed on that bus in a matter of 25 minutes. So anyway, these setups are telling me that I'm a sick cunt if I don't fancy ugly old people, without taking into account I've never had anyone, and making accusations of other things as well. Just yesterday, which was the I can't remember the date. Is it the 24th of the 9th 2023? Crows are actually making allegations, or seagulls are saying that I've had sex with Amy Weston, who is basically similar looking to the American singer and actress called Gabby Borges in America. Except with Amy, she was actually hotter looking than that. So she was like a smoother attraction, more sexy looking to how people would see a sexual woman at the age she would have been. So that would be impossible to have. You know, that's not possible. And she's gone into negative attraction now, and she's also a single mother of many children. So although she might have been with all my enemies or whatever, you know, she's never really liked me, so it's not really applicable. I shouldn't be mentioning this name, to be honest, because I can get in trouble. But you know, the Creator God shouldn't be doing it in such a clear way where the actual name's coming out in an obvious way, you know. So the Creator is to blame as well, and the people that are causing these setups are to blame as well, because they're making the same suggestion. It's like with this Stephanie business. I've never been with Stephanie. Sadie, Ian, who else am I accused of going with? Oh God, I don't know. But you know, there's many people that don't like me. But even though this prostitute was the one that scammed me, there's still no guarantee that the person who went to attack me was connected to that specific prostitute that I was telling you about earlier in this recording, because it could be connected to Gemma Ferguson, it could be connected to Kimberly Cox, previously known as Kimberly Hobbs, Amanda Millis, or Sally Ann Adicott. It's very unlikely it would be caused by Sadie or family on my mum's side of but there's a small possibility. And there is a new thing that's being mentioned in threats. Now, I'd never seen this person, but she's been born and I have heard of the name, and this is called Sky, but I don't want to say anything about Sky because I don't know who she is and I don't know the ins and outs, and I don't want to cause trouble. But obviously it's going to be the same as everything else, just to keep it short and quick and simple without causing any trouble or saying anything. So I just wanted to mention that, and there's quite a few other things I'd like to mention as well, but they're not on top of my head. But just giving you an example, and obviously you may have heard some crow ha-ha-has in this recording. They might be coincidence, they might be elaborate. Maybe you can check for yourself through the recording, because I haven't really taken much notice of how many animals have occurred making sounds. But I can tell you now, there's been a lot of that animal sounds this year in particular. It's not really been that bad since before 2012, but it's all started up again. And I'm 43 and I've not had sex in my whole life. And just one more thing I just wanted to mention, I'm actually known as a sick bastard by organised setups or force if I was to look at someone who sexually abused me as a child at the age they would have been when they sexually abused me as a child. And that's been applied through these setups that occur non-stop. So they're actually getting aggressive. I mean, they're getting really, really nasty and vicious about it, telling me that my age is an age where you look at grey hair and wrinkly skin. I mean, they are getting aggressive with it. These elite people that are, or the Illuminati or whoever's causing these setups, I mean, they are getting nasty. I mean, really nasty about that one specific subject in particular. Because say I get a thought of the person who like abused me as a child when the age he was at the time, and obviously some are not here anymore because they've died, but you know, they will just have it with you, you know, just go really, really psycho on you with these corrupt setups, just telling me that I'm sick and not to remember that sort of thing, and that you're supposed to fancy an old granny, without taking into account that I haven't had anything. And also in the last few weeks I've been saying that I'm greedy for sex and all the rest of it when I've never had anyone. So whoever these people are buckled, twisted and corrupt. And also they've caused the Creator God to turn against me as well, making the suggestion that they've cut my throat and landed me in jeopardy with the Creator God, which is going to land me into hell after death. So these people that are doing this are just getting nastier and nastier and nastier, especially since the end of all the lockdowns, because all the setups started to die down just before the start of the lockdowns. So basically they were saying I paid the price of writing Bomb Hinckley or whatever it was, and which was done in chalk after some specific problems occurred many years ago in 2006. So I writ it. I've been in trouble for it, obviously, and the police have warned me not to do this sort of thing, and I haven't. And obviously I've grown older and I've realised that I shouldn't have done it anyway. But you know, when things have been bad and things I can't say, then obviously I wasn't very happy about it. But as soon as after the lockdowns, they step up all this action to the heaviest it's ever been. Thanks for watching.